Welcome to the Physical Product Movement, a podcast by Fiddle. We share stories of the world's most ambitious and exciting physical product brands to help you capitalize on the monumental change in how, why, and where consumers buy. I'm your host, Ken Ojuka. In this episode, I speak with Margaret Wishingrad, co-founder of Three Wishes Cereal. In this interview, we talk about the opportunity that she saw in the crowded and competitive breakfast cereal market while feeding her young and very picky son. Using her experience in marketing and advertising, she began to do product and consumer research. This wasn't her first rodeo. Margaret outlines the principles that she refused to compromise on and the trends that she aligned her brand with, which helped Three Wishes find great product positioning. Three Wishes was able to find success in retail, getting into Sprouts, Whole Foods, and Wegmans pretty early out the gate. She explains why she felt her brand resonated with these buyers and the hole these buyers were trying to fill on their shelves. Margaret was an open book with a great story for food and beverage entrepreneurs. Enjoy. All right, Margaret, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Ken.
Yeah. Hey, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Westchester County in New York.
Okay. And I'm seeing pictures of your family here on the website. You told me that you have another kid and he's not featured here on the website. Not yet. Do you have plans on putting him on there or no?
I don't know. Maybe he'll make it to the website. I was actually really private and secretive with Ellis, who's now super public. But yeah, I like to keep my kids hidden sometimes, but maybe one day.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about your company and the Three Wishes, the name, where that came from, everything. And so I think maybe that will make a little bit more sense. Yeah. So we want to drill into your story and kind of hear everything about how you started your brand. But first, let's kick it off with a quote. Is there a quote that comes to mind that you could share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Walt Disney quote that all of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. I think courage and pursuit are two massive parts of the entrepreneurial journey, and really, a lot of what I do every day. It's a good reminder to be like, you got it, pursue it, you got the courage, just run with it. So it's important to have those both.
No, I love it. And I love actually Walt Disney as an entrepreneur.
Oh.
I think he was a fascinating entrepreneur. I read a book on him about a year ago, actually recommended by one of the Airbnb founders. But anyway, it was incredible. So yeah, I like the quote. Okay. Yeah. So, for those that don't know you, why don't you tell us just a little bit about your background, and then we can dig into your company and the origin story behind that.
Cool. Yeah. So I am Margaret Wishingrad, one of now 4 Wishingrads, but when we started the brand, there were 3 of us. My husband is my co-founder, human life partner, business partner, all insert partner. That is Ian. Together, we have an ad agency here in New York called Big Eyed Wish. And so that was our past life / still something we dabble in, but advertising and marketing is our passion and love. And we really enjoyed building brands for small clients that would come to us with a vision and innovation. And then we also really loved working with the Fortune 10s and Fortune 100s of the world. And you learn a little bit from everything. And I think naturally, we've always wanted to be on the other side where agency is service. It was really exciting for us to be on the other side, which is physical, tangible products and goods. And so for us, the real story started when I was a mom for the first time and looking for products to feed my child to develop his pincer skills, which is when you put your pointer finger and your thumb together to pick something up and pinch it. And Cheerios and cereal in general was a recommendation. And it was one of those whoa, I haven't had cereal in the longest time. Am I the only one that feels this way? Is there a problem in the category? And I turned to Ian after really taking a deeper dive. I realized, even at the Whole Foods of the world, there's really not there aren't that many healthy options there. And the regular conventional aisle is super duper unhealthy, still all the same classics from when I was a kid. Right. And so I kind of spoke to a ton of moms, parents, grandparents, and just single adults and really ask them, hey, have you been consuming cereal? And if not, why? What was the driver that, really caused you to stop eating it? And so realized there were really no options in the market for neither myself, my family, or friends and family. And so we thought, okay, great. We could do this. We can, the same way people have revolutionized pasta and tortilla chips and all these other things that used to be a little bit more taboo, or now there's a healthier alternative. And so we decided, all right, let's do it. Let's create a product that promises the taste and experience and nostalgia of cereal while delivering the healthy macros that we know the consumers are really starting to look for. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the beginnings of Three Wishes and what inspired us to start it. And here we are now.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. What kind of timeline? Like when did you do this and how long have you guys been around?
Yeah. So when Ellis is now 4.5, when he was 6 months old is when I came up with the idea. It took us 2 years to do the product innovation because apparently it is very difficult to create cereal, and not only creating cereal, healthy cereal. So that took 2 years. So we launched October 2019. Within 2 weeks of launch, we had authorization from Wegmans, Sprouts, Whole Foods. And so we became a national brand pretty quickly. And it was also a super interesting time because it was kind of right before the pandemic. So we've had to shift for a little bit, then shift back. It's been really fascinating, but yeah, we launched now. We've been in market for 2 years.
Yeah, so the pincer skills example that you mentioned is something that we're thinking about. We've got a little 7-month-old, who's just beginning to eat solids, and so we're trying to give him stuff with some texture and all of that. And teaching him how to use the spoon, and so the Cheerios will be coming soon. And maybe what we need to do is 3 wishes instead.
3 wishes. That is exactly it.
Okay, so I love the story. I love that you're solving a problem that you ran into, so it's something that you identify with. I'm very interested in maybe digging into a little bit of how you approach this, especially with your advertising and branding background. And then, maybe we can talk about COVID and, how, maybe it affected your business and what you guys did. So yeah, let's go back to, you came up with the idea. You thought that this was good. It sounds like you did some customer research by talking to friends and people that you knew. Did you formalize that in any way, or were you able to draw on your, sort of advertising background in order to conduct that research?
Yeah, I think it was really just doing the same thing we've done for clients, which is you identify the issue, you create the strategy, you create the briefs, and we really identified, and that helps us, both in an R&D perspective and in every other sense, the brand is really dialing it down to what are you hoping to accomplish here? One, what's the problem you're solving? Is this a true problem? Pulling panels, doing the research, looking at the size of the entire market and industry, seeing if there were disruptors, what happened, and really doing a full deep dive on that side. And then on the product side, I think really laying over a ton of trends that are both applicable to myself and my family, cleaner, better ingredients, higher protein for meal like breakfast, really taking down the sugar. Another big thing is we're seeing just inflammation overall from gluten, from grains. So it was really important for us to include all of those things. So it was a lot that we were trying to nail in one product, but it really helped us to kind of lay all of those things over each other and go, okay, I think 8 grams of protein feels like a really good space and a range for where we want to net out on the protein. 3 grams of sugar definitely feels like a really nice safe space of sugar. And those little things helped us then dictate what formulation would look like. And then on the formulation side, it was, we are not food scientists by any stretch. And so for us, it was finding the right person that could create and craft the perfect product for us. And so that took a ton of networking to get to. But what was really interesting is even my function agency side, as I always got involved in creative, but something I always did really well was the operational portion. So where my husband and I divide a little bit is he's definitely all marketing and really into the creative part of the business. And that reflects in cereal as well. And then I am way more operational. So as much as building a beautiful brand and knowing how to capture the consumer is important, for me, the most important thing and why we really took the 2 years was making sure my product landed. I was creating a product for my child who was super picky And no amount of marketing or fancy banner ads or or influencers would ever matter to my child, and probably any other child for that matter. And so for me, it was the food product that I was most focused on. And once I had sign off from my then 2-year-old is when we went to market. For him, cereal became indistinguishable. It was really, he enjoyed eating our cereal. And I was so happy as a parent to be able to feed him chickpea, pea protein, tapioca versus nutrient deficient grains. And that's kind of the approach we took.
Was there anything surprising that you uncovered during that that phase?
Yeah. It's so hard. It's so highly technical. It wasn't like, hey, we tried, 20 different recipes for a pizza crust. It requires insane machinery, insane minimums. It's a much bigger scale thing. And then when you think about cereal, it's one of the largest aisles in a store with the most colors, the most SKUs, characters. It's a really huge category. And it's really dominated by 3 big players. And there are reasons to that, right? It's a very difficult thing to break through into. And additionally, retail, which is something we were really focused on, we wanted to be a product that, as a parent, or even like when I was single, I thought about my consumer behavior. And do I order stuff online all the time? Absolutely. But when I think about, I'm hungry, I'm craving something, or I want to go buy something, it's, you hop in the car, you walk to the store, and you pick up your box of cereal from the shelf. And I wanted to have a product that was way more attainable than like, hey, you order it, you wait 2 weeks and you get it. And so retail is interesting because the only way that you're able to be on that shelf is if you kick someone else off, right? They're not adding additional square footage to a store. And so you really have to come with a true, interesting, proposition for the consumer and for the buyer/retailer. And that was, something that we really had to consider is why would they remove a SKU that's already generating revenue? And why am I so special? So we really worked on creating that special product.
And so, if you had to distill it, I know it's a lot of concepts and, I could just only imagine the challenge of trying to fit all those into one product. But, what do you think it is that allowed you guys to get that retail distribution pretty quickly?
I think this was an aisle with no real innovation. I think we gave the consumer permission to consume something they knew and loved so much. I think you think about cereal and it instantly takes, or at least me, instantly takes you back to childhood. And like, there was like something naughty about it and delicious. And it just filled I think it almost fills that same void that pizza fills in a way where like, it gives you some sense of comfort. And so I think consumers were really excited by that. Hey, I can eat this. It has protein, it has fiber, it has a lot less sugar. These are great, cleaner ingredients. There's no, artificial fortifying it with anything else. So I think that was the thing that really excited everyone. And so buyers were excited to bring something new in and have something exciting for everyone else to try. So I think it was really having the solution for the real problem and identifying that it was actually a problem.
Is this a problem that you had to convince the buyers, or do you think that they already had identified it? They're just looking for a good product.
Yeah, I mean, cereal overall prior to last year was it was like pasta for a while. It was a declining category as people started to steer away from it, understanding how it affects overall health. But I think we're just in a different generation. My parents, I'm an immigrant, but when my parents immigrated here, I had all these sugary cereals in my house. My parents took me to McDonald's, and now I think it's a completely different thing where like, myself and my peers, that was something that was allowed then. I think we just know better as a generation of what we can and can't feed our children, what we shouldn't fuel our bodies with. So I think all of these buyers knew, and they saw that they weren't growing that cereal set as a category, and this new exciting product gave them the opportunity to create a additional revenue stream for their stores.
Mm-hmm. Well, where did you guys immigrate from?
I was born in Israel, and my parents are from the former Soviet Union. And so we came here, and I grew up in Brooklyn. And it was really, cereal was so American. And I think that's what was always so fun about it as well as a kid. Like, it gave me a sense of America.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. So I'm from Uganda as well. I guess I'm an immigrant as well. But one of the things that I remember when we moved to the States, 7 years old, we were staying with a family friend, and they came down for breakfast and they had cereal at the table. And it was probably the worst cereal to choose in terms of like sweetness and sugar, and just completely overwhelmed these people from Uganda. We had Frosted Flakes. And I remember
Mm.
just almost being appalled at how sweet it
How
was, and
sweet. Yeah.
the idea that you're supposed to pour, milk over it. It was also foreign to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, it's so true. And we see that even like with Europeans, their muesli is such a popular thing in Europe, and their cereals are a lot less sweet than American cereals. And so it's interesting because we have an unsweetened SKU as
Mhm.
well that we launched with, and that is zero sugar. It's literally four ingredients. And I remember pre-COVID when we would see people, they would try it. A lot of European people would be like, oh my God, this is so great because it's not sweet. It just has that like cereal crunch and experience, but it's not
Yeah.
how all these American cereals experience. So it's a really interesting category.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And, amongst my friends, I remember in college, I had a roommate who, I mean, all he ate was cereal, is what it seemed like, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just, people are big fans of cereal, and I think you're right. It kind of hits a certain nostalgia and, a little comfort,
Mm.
Let's talk about it. So you have 3 SKUs, is that right?
We launched with three. We are now on seven.
Okay.
And
What did you launch with?
we launched, and so this is like overall the way we look at this is
Okay.
we're not trying to reinvent. We've reinvented enough by really breaking down what cereal used to be made out of and create
Mm-hmm.
something entirely different. So let's give people the experience they want, right? So we launched with a honey, cinnamon, and the unsweetened. And those are reminiscent of your Honey Nut Cheerios, your Cinnamon Toast Crunch, your Yellow Box Cheerios on the unsweetened. And then the cereal flavors we added on was we added a cocoa, we added a fruity, we added a frosted. We just did a limited edition pumpkin spice that was exclusive to Sprouts as a retailer. And so it's been great because people are getting the classics they really missed and are now consuming them, feeling great about that decision. And it's been really wonderful to see the consumer reception of every time we launch a new flavor. There's just like such excitement about it.
Have you released any information about, which are your best sellers, or, are you at liberty to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think naturally the ones that have been in market the longest are going to have way more data on them, right? So we know
Mm-hmm.
our cinnamon is so good, but all of the flavors have really picked up traction as we observe them over the weeks in terms of sales. They all do really well. It's just they're super specific, right? When you think about how people feel about cereal, I don't really know many people that are like, I love all cereal flavors. Like everyone's like, oh, I got a top three. And so it's really particular. There are people that like live and die for cinnamon, live and die for fruity, or like cocoa becomes that evening like bowl after dinner where you have that crunchy, that chocolatey. It feels like all these little nuances. So I think it's so specific. And that's why we love having this wider array of flavors where you feel like you're going back to the cereal you really loved growing up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's an important, and I think also what you guys did, which is launch with a limited number of SKUs, right? You didn't go out the door with 7
Totally.
SKUs just because of the difficulty and the cost. And so it's interesting what you said earlier about, when you looked at this, when you started looking at your baby, eating cereal and realized that you hadn't had cereal for a long time. Is that pretty common? Like in your research, have you found that's common amongst adults where, they may have had a lot of cereal as a kid, but they stopped consuming it as an adult?
Yeah. I mean, I think even beyond, my generation, I look at my in-laws or my parents, my grandparents, and just seeing, it's frequent doctor visits. Doctors are saying, hey, you need to cut out gluten, you need to cut out sugar, you need to cut out all of these things that were so fine. And like we're in these commercials of, essential parts of a healthy breakfast in the 1950s was basically a bowl of sugar. And so I think overall, everyone is having to cut these things out, whether it's by choice or not. It's a common problem. It really, like everyone knows it's not good to fuel your body with sugar, right? There are all these campaigns about how you should be starting your day or what you should be consuming. So I identified it via my child because I haven't had it, and that brought me to it again. But there are people that have been eating cereal forever and have had to stop. So this has been even more exciting for them versus me, who kind of forgot about it, but is so excited to get reintroduced.
Right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. So it sounds like you put a lot of research, a lot of energy into, first and foremost, creating a great product, right? And you had pretty discerning tastes with your kid being picky. You wanted to make sure he enjoyed it, right?
Totally.
And so you've got this great product now. Let's switch to, okay, you want to get the word out. What did you guys do? What was kind of the playbook that you were in order to start marketing this?
Yeah, so we launched. We launched online and brick and mortar kind of simultaneously. But what's interesting about brick and mortar and online, they drive each other. So instead of focusing on one channel, it was you see it in store, but you don't know if you're going to buy it. So maybe you look it up on Instagram and then you're like, oh, people are enjoying it. Or you see it online in an ad and then you see it in the store. So you pick it up in store. And so it's interesting to see how those complement each other. But it just started, it's 10 people that know 10 people that know 10 people. So one part of it was we would seed it and send it out to some influencers. We didn't pay people. It was like, hey, if you love this product, please feel free to share it. And that organically did its own thing. And then additionally, what we did for the first couple of months when we launched, we had a retailer here local to where we are that decided to take the product. And on Saturday and Sunday, Ian and I would go into stores and we would sample it for 2 to 3 hours. And within 2 to 3 hours, we would sell 300 boxes of cereal. And that for us was the biggest testament that someone would love it when they try it. Because I think the skepticism is definitely there when you see healthy anything. I think you assume it's going to taste a little off. And so here, the best proof was children and parents walking a store aisle, pick it up and try it, fall in love with it, buy it and continue to buy it. And so that for us was one, amazing proof of concept. But two, also started to get that drumbeat in retail going and growing and allowed us to get a little bit of a case study to then bring to additional retailers. So it was really important for us to do both at the same time. But something that you mentioned earlier was how did COVID affect it? And what was interesting there was it was a shift where people were nervous to go to stores, nervous to now walk the aisles and discover it the way that they did before. I think something about retail shopping is therapeutic. You walk the aisles, you pick up new things, you put some things back. And so there's an experience. And I think COVID took a little bit of that away. So we had to quickly shift our focus to how do we educate and attract the consumer online. And so whether they're buying it through a delivery service at their local grocery store, or if they're buying it from our website. So we relaunched our website to make a really nice and simple path to purchase for the consumer. That was within 6 weeks of probably COVID. So April, we had a new website up, and that did a wonderful job and helped a lot. And it was just overall thinking of what are the other things we could do to get earned media. And so we had a moment in like peak COVID where I have a U-shaped driveway in front of my house. And we're like, okay, we used to do these samplings every weekend. We can't do them anymore. How are people going to try it to know if they love it? And so we set up with masks and tongs. We did these little cups. And in front of our driveway, we like painted a sign in front of our driveway, just like decided to set up shop and let people try it. And whether they went home and bought it, great, totally up to them. But I think what was interesting was a few things about it. One, we were able to really talk to our local community. We were able to create some good sentiment during a really weird time in a news cycle. And I think in turn, what it did for us was got us a lot of press and pickup. And so we had nearly probably a 3-minute segment on national TV during the day. And that was our biggest sales day in company history, probably even to date. It was great. And so
tell us a little bit about that. Anyway, finish your story, but I want to dig into that.
Yeah. But overall, I think just being nimble and having these interesting, fun, guerrilla-esque tactics. We did a ton more really fun, stunt things afterwards. Some land, some don't. And you just learn about it as you continue to go. But it's really, for us, it's how do we continue telling people, hey, we're new, we're delicious, our macros are great, you should try us, but also leave them feeling some type of way. I think people, especially with brands, you want someone to love your brand, because whether I release a different SKU in 6 months, a year, whatever it is, I want them to have some feeling about it and really become someone that evangelizes the brand.
Right. Understood. Yeah. And it looks like you guys, have done some pretty good PR. You're on Business Insider and Pop Sugar, and people are writing, pretty amazing things about you guys, and I know that this stuff doesn't just happen, right? You can't just wait for them to find you. And so maybe what we can do is dig into that example of the national broadcast, that national exposure that was your biggest day. What do you think led up to that? Why do you think that you were able to be featured like that?
Yeah. So we told a story here locally. So we're here in Westchester. We had someone cover it locally. It was then syndicated through USA Today that owns the smaller local pub. And then a producer at Fox saw the USA Today feature and just gave us a call. It was really just like, hey, let's throw things against the wall. And if they stick, they stick. But for us, it was, let's create a moment. And this was like, whether it goes anywhere or not, we wanted to do something that would also be great for our community and like everyone to feel a certain way about being out and about and seeing faces and not being terrified. I think there was a lot of the news cycle was so scary and really just like weird to be a part of. So I think just having smiles and seeing people smile behind a mask was a nice thing. But beyond that, it was really create an interesting moment to be talked about during a time that really needed it. And so we got lucky in a way, but we also created a moment for the news to talk about. So I think everyone won and everyone was happy from it.
So what was this story? Like, what was,
local
the moment that you were creating? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was startup. I don't remember the headline, but it was like cereal startup, like hosted drive-through cereal sampling was the headline. But it was more about what we're doing as small businesses to thrive, to be a part of community, to just continue figuring out a way to survive in a really weird time. And for us, it was how did we get sampling was our thing. We couldn't sample. Here we found a way to creatively sample. And so they were just excited to just talk about what you can do or what like examples of being nimble and smart were. And so I'm glad we got to be a part of that story.
So were you and your husband interviewed and were you nervous? How did you feel about it?
Yeah. So Ian has done quite a bit of time on TV prior on the advertising side. So he would be on morning shows and CNBC every now and then. So he was fine. When we launched, we had a hit. This was another interesting way where retail fed it. So when we were sampling, one of the producers for Good Day New York tried our product and reached out to us about, I think it was also like small family businesses or something. And we basically launched our product on Friday on a Good Day New York segment. And I was like sweating bullets before this interview. And then I go on and I was like, this is great. And everyone's like, you're so natural. You crushed it. Then we had another segment a couple weeks later. So I got very somehow comfortable with doing TV and I honestly love it. And I wish I had more opportunities to do it. So who knows what the future holds, but you're obviously nervous. It's live. You don't know what they're going to ask you. There's no going back, turning someone's TV off, scrubbing it and do it again. I'm like, what if they put me on the spot? What am I going to say? And so the other thing is, Ian and I are both on. How do we know that one of us is going to pick up the cue to start talking when the other one should stop? It was just really funny. But you figure it out and you get really good at it. And I really enjoy it.
What do you think kind of surprised you about it? Like, what do you think you like about it? And I ask because I think that there are other, food entrepreneurs out there who have the same sort of nervousness, the same concerns.
Yeah, I'm really just passionate and happy to be able to do what I do. And the same way, it's like, how do you go talk to buyers? Or what? We're all humans. We are all doing something to better ourselves. For me, it's creating a cereal that I could share with the world and allow people to consume better, healthier food. And they are trying to curate better products for their store. And so the same way I pitch and sell to them is the same way I speak and pitch a human that happens to be a TV anchor. And it's funny, one of the interviews I did, you could tell I was like a little nervous before the camera turned on. And the anchor turns to me and he goes, pretend we're in a bar, we're grabbing a drink and we're just talking. I'm like, honestly, yes. And that was great. Really great advice. We're just humans hanging out, talking. There just happens to be a camera rolling. And there happens to be the fact that you're probably on a million TV screens throughout the country. But besides that, we're all people.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's definitely something that we need to keep in mind. Well, let's just turn to the future a little bit. What's next for you guys? What do you have planned?
Yeah, we definitely want to just continue spreading the word, creating great cereal. I think for us, it's as long as we're getting into people's cupboards and they're trying us, we know that we have something really special, and that's really exciting. And so it just continued to become America's top selling healthy cereal. That's what we're really excited about. And to become that trusted household name. I think something that's special about Three Wishes as a brand name, aside from the fact that it was about the three Wishingrads, it was the three benefits we had that we're bringing to the category. But more importantly, we didn't set out to do Happy O's or Delicious O's. It was not so product specific. It was definitely more about how do we create a beautiful platform brand where people feel comfortable, excited, and really anything that we create feels like, okay, I know they care about ingredients. I know they care about taste and they're going to make sure it tastes great. And this is a brand I love and I want to keep in my cupboards. And so that's really the goal, continue to do exactly that.
And so it sounds like you're alluding that you guys, may, even step out of the cereal category to other products. Is that something that you're planning on doing? And how are you thinking about that?
Yeah. So I think innovation is a really hard thing. And so we're always working on things behind the scenes, but I wouldn't launch anything unless I felt 1,000% confident and excited about what that is, like I did with cereal. So for now, it's yes. Are we always working on things in the kitchen? Absolutely. Is there anything coming to market next week? Probably not, but there's always something cooking.
Okay, got it. Well, let's switch over to the quick fire round. I've got 4 questions for you, and then we can wrap things up.
Cool.
What is one tool or resource that has helped you in your career?
Writing things down. I was the biggest believer in my memories, going to remember it. And then you have multiple children, multiple businesses, writing it down, even if it is in your iPhone notes section or calendar has changed my life.
So I'm always curious, do you use the iPhone notes? Is that the app that you go with?
Notes is it.
I've tried Evernote. I've tried, I can't consolidate everything into one. So my notes are everywhere.
Yeah.
What is a book that you can recommend to the audience?
Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't read a good book in a long time, and that could probably be because children and a pandemic and businesses. I don't even have one top of mind. I'm trying to think of what I read.
Do you have like a, website or something that you go to learn, or, some sort of resource that you use to further your understanding and knowledge?
I really enjoy all of the email industry roundups. So or just like news roundups, Axios, Morning Brew, Retail Brew, all of the industry news that or Lean Lux is great. Anything that can summarize what's going on in the world or in business in one email I love some digestible content always.
Okay, that's great. What about one piece of advice that you'd give to your 21-year-old self?
Oof. Keep doing what you're doing, girl. I think it's really just continue following your gut. You've gotten this far. You're always going to have negativity and people saying no, and continuing to just pursue and have that courage. Back to the Walt Disney point is it. Just do what you do. Keep going. Keep trucking.
Awesome. And then what about one person in your industry or your field of work that, maybe somebody that you're watching or a brand that you're watching where there's somebody that you'd love to take to lunch? Is there anybody that comes to mind?
Yeah. I mean, I love Gail Becker of Call of Power. She's done an incredible job building a massive brand that has such brand love. And she is truly a wonderful, wonderful actual human as well. So love you, Gail Becker.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Or I guess, what's the best way for people to reach out to you or to contact you if they wanted to?
You can find us on social at 3 Wishes spelled out. You can find me on social at mbwish. And you could always shoot us a note, hi@3wishescereal.com.
And the website is 3wishescereal.com.
Yep.
And I have a cereal right here on the checkout. I have a daughter that's gluten intolerant, so this will be great. I definitely want her to try it.
Wow.
Any parting advice for fellow food entrepreneurs out there that are kind of in the grind right now? Maybe they've got an idea, they want to launch it, or they're already launched. What would you say to them?
Don't take no for an answer. Whether it's a co-packer, a retailer, your spouse, anybody, really, you could, if you really know that you've figured out a brilliant solution for an annoying problem, keep going. Sky's the limit.
Awesome. I love to end it on that. So, hey, thanks a lot, Margaret. We appreciate you taking the time. This has been fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ken.
Okay. We'll see ya. The Physical Product Movement podcast is brought to you by Fiddle. To find out more about Fiddle and how our industry-leading inventory ops platform is giving modern brands and manufacturers full visibility into their inventory and operations, visit fiddle.io. And then make sure to search for Physical Product Movement in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Fiddle, thanks for listening.